Call for help and action from protesting parents of kidnapped students of Government Science Secondary School, Kankara in Katsina State, as they ask the federal government to rescue their 333 children.
Yes. Bandits is too much. Yes. Katsina State is bleeding. Yes. We want justice. Yes. We want our children. Yes. We want our children. Yes. We want our children. Yes. Governor must talk. Yes. Governor must talk. Yes. We want security. Yes. We want security. Yes. Kankara is bleeding.
Be prepared for a round of protests. Coalition of Northern groups warns federal governments, describing the incident at Kankara as barbaric. 18 more generals contract COVID-19 from the botched Chief of Army Staff conference, which has already claimed the life of one general. Let's continue the talks. British Prime Minister and European Commission President agree to carry on post-Brexit trade talks. Several hours after 333 students of the Government Science Secondary Schools, Kankara, were kidnapped in Kankara, Katsina State, some parents of the missing children have staged a protest to demand government's intervention to help rescue their children. The incident, which has generated a lot of reaction, also has the state governor, Bello Masari, given an update which suggests that over 300 of the boys are still missing. Meanwhile, there seems to be some hope following the visit of a federal government delegation who says the rescue of the students should be concluded in a few hours.
Government Science Secondary School, Kankara, Katsina State is still in the news after kidnappers struck, leaving behind pain and anguish. Academic work has been disrupted, the school premises vacated, while in town, there is disquiet just as a high-powered federal government delegation has stormed the home state of President Muhammadu Buhari. They don't look happy. They shouldn't be, judging by the scale of brazenness displayed by the assailants. They have two items on their mind: pay a support visit to the state government and a sneak preview of what's about to unfold as regards their rescue mission.
We felt this kind of thing, which happened 2 days ago, the armed forces and the police and other security agencies must move very fast to ensure the students are rescued. We are doing this on the belief that if these kind of people are allowed to rest for a moment, we are also equally condoning this kind of activities. And the conclusion within most of the security agents is that it's high time we declare this kind of people terrorists. And if we do that, probably people will now sit up, because once you are a terror, you don't have any right of your life.
So, if they don't know all that is in front of them, the governor gives them an idea. 333 of the boys kidnapped are still unaccounted for.
The children so far kidnapped cut across the state because the school is a boarding school. It houses all children from all parts of the state and some even from outside the state. It has a population of 839, and so far we are yet to account for 333 pupils, and we are still counting because more are coming out of the forest, and we are calling through the numbers, those parents that have numbers, to find out whether their children have gone back home, because we have discovered so many local governments, the children have gone back, but based on the record that we have, we are still searching for 333.
As daring as the entire exercise carried out by the bandits appear, it is not a fluke. Some mothers are already speaking out for their loved ones.
My son is one of those kidnapped. We are appealing to the government to consider our plight by rescuing our children. We equally appeal to our Muslim brothers to assist us with prayers to see that our children are rescued safely.
No doubt, this operation to be led by these security chiefs who have been severely criticized lately owing to cases of increased insecurity may just have to inspire hope again. This is perhaps a litmus test. The mission is clear. 333 children are missing and must be rescued.
The Kankara school attack is also a serious concern for the coalition of northern groups, and they're saying that if government fails to rescue the missing students, they will not hesitate to protest on the streets of Katsina State. The Northwest coordinator of the coalition, Mr. Jamilu Charanchi, also criticized the inability of government to protect the innocent students, describing it as barbaric and uncalled for. The coalition equally condemned in strong terms the inability of the president to visit the scene, despite being in the state for a private visit.
The situation has today reached an unacceptable level with the attack launched by deadly armed bandit at Government Science Secondary School, Kankara. Information reaching us while writing this communique, many students are still missing. Dark as the clouds may appear, depressing as the news may be, hopeless as the situation may seem, silence is a luxury we cannot afford. The deafening silence in the state to our people suffering is not only morally wrong, but it nourishes, validates, and perpetuates the feeling of our political leaders. We demand an immediate closure of all boarding secondary schools in the state with an immediate deployment of security personnel well equipped at all the secondary schools within the state. 4. Additional security personnel, armor, personnel carriers, fighter jets should be mobilized to Katsina State with immediate effect by the federal authorities. 5. While we commend the effort of Katsina State government for its immediate response, we equally condemned in strongest terms the inability of the president to visit the scene despite being him in the state. The attack of Government Science Secondary School Kankara by armed bandit exposes not only the weakness of the government, but also lack of its concern to educational sector, describing the action as inhuman, insensitive, ungodly, barbaric, and regrettable situation and call for an immediate action. 4. TNG observed with dismay that these bandits are now literally the law in some rural areas in the state, simply because of the absence of any form of government in these villages. They roam the local market with impunity, carrying AK-47 rifles slung on their shoulders. Our stand. 1. While condemning in totality this barbaric act and call for the immediate arrest and prosecution of the culprits, we equally stress the inability of the government to protect those young, innocent, vibrant students from this horrible attack as uncalled for. 2. Failure of the government to rescue the missing student within a shortest period of time. CNG will not hesitate to mobilize hundreds of thousands on the street of Katsina State for a continuous protest until the students are fully rescued. This will happen even if it is going to cost our lives.
And it appears the security operatives have a lot to contend with in Katsina at the moment, as there has been another attack in another part of the state, in Jibia local government area, which has claimed one life. Reports say the attacks were carried out between Saturday and Sunday. A farmer was killed in the attacks, while 3 others have been kidnapped by gunmen. The police is yet to confirm the attack. From Katsina to the northeastern state of Borno, where the Air Task Force of Operation Lafia Dole says it has decimated Boko Haram terrorists in airstrikes at Njimia area on the fringes of the Sambisa forest in Borno State. The coordinator, Defense Media Operations, Major General John Enenche, says the attack, which resulted in the killing of several Boko Haram insurgents and damage to their structures, was conducted after a series of aerial surveillance missions. He added the Air Force delivered accurate hits in the target area. Meanwhile, the military says its troops of Operation Lafia Dole have killed more than 20 Boko Haram terrorists and captured arms and ammunition belonging to the terrorists who attempted to attack Askira Uba community in Borno State. The army says the terrorists, who mounted on 15 gun trucks suspected to have come from Sambisa forest, approached the town from different directions simultaneously. They were, however, faced by troops with superior firepower, with the terrorists suffering huge losses, both in men and materials and equipment. 1 soldier was killed, while 2 others were wounded in the attack. Staying with security issues, residents of some rural communities in neighboring Yobe State are worried if nothing is done to urgently to the rising farmer-herder conflict in the state, their means of survival may be threatened. The residents say farming is their main occupation, and if the conflict is allowed to escalate, it may result in the entire state experiencing economic crisis and food insecurity.
Yobe is one of the states in the northern part of Nigeria with a low record of farmers-herders conflict. Between December 2019 to October 2020, the state recorded 0 conflict among the two groups. However, recently, the crisis has resurfaced in the state. The recent conflict was at Garin Malam in Gakusko Local Government Council of the state, where the son of the village head was killed, others injured, and assorted farm produce destroyed. While some of the stakeholders are pointing accusing fingers to the traditional leaders for their inability to conduct regular meetings among the groups, the European Union, which is intervening in the conflict in the northeast, says it has developed a template intended to monitor early warnings of the crisis.
Kusang biyar ko shida da muka dawo, local government ɗawainiya yana kansa bai nemi shawarar mu komi bai nema ba. Don haka mu dai muke ƙoƙari mu tafiyar da harka yanda za a samu zaman lafiya don zaman garin mu ya fi zaman garin waɗansu.
The managing conflict in Northeast Nigeria is working very closely with traditional, with the Farmers Association, with the Mieti Allah, with the Kuleng Allah, all of them on monthly basis. We monitor to see newcomers so that we can take stock of them, we can discuss them. Of course, the basis is to make sure that everybody live in peace and people live in harmony.
In search of lasting solutions to the problem, the relevant authorities are taking proactive measures through the introduction of data capturing system of all nomadic herders who visit the state annually.
We are here to discuss the issues and see how the US state government will partner and give necessary logistic support to the security, the military, the police, and the civil defense and other sister agencies to ensure that the peaceful coexistence we have been receiving should continue.
Every new Fulani that is not indigenous of Yobe State will be captured with all his details, his passport photographs, and his thumbprints, and all this data should be captured in that particular form, using the Fulani leaders in those areas. So by having him registered, we'll be able to know if something happens, he'll be able to be traced. We can trace him and know that he's the one responsible for this.
To ensure food security, collective efforts must be put in place towards ending the impending conflict, as already large hectares of farmlands are currently not accessible in the state as a result of Boko Haram insurgency.
Days after Major General Olu Irefing died from COVID-19 complications, more concern seems to be growing in the top echelon of the army after at least 18 generals who had contact with him also tested positive for the virus. Military sources told Channels Television that the affected senior army officers were attendees of the 2020 Chief of Army Staff Annual Conference at the Nigerian Army Resource Center in Abuja. General Irefing was said to have visited some of his colleagues at home before the conference. All the officers who attended the conference, their wives, and other members of their families who live with them have been directed to isolate themselves for a week by the Nigeria Center for Disease Control. The sources said the affected officers are mostly those who came from outside Abuja and have been tested by officials of the NCDC, while those who are in Abuja are yet to undergo tests for the virus. Channels Television also learns that the venue of the aborted conference, the Nigerian Army Resource Center at Sokoro, was decontaminated by health officials at the weekend. Major General Irefing fell ill at the 2020 Chief of Army Staff Conference last week and was taken to the hospital. He later tested positive for COVID-19 and was receiving treatment before he died. General Irefing was the General Officer commanding 6th Division, Port Harcourt in Rivers State. We'll have more on this later in part 2 after the break. Just how much does it cost to buy pens, printer, toners and other office stationery? That's a question the Social Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, is asking. the President and the Minister of State for Petroleum over some expenditure on the ministry's budget. Join us again.
You know how some things are necessary.
If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Call for help and action from protesting parents of kidnapped students of Government Science Secondary School, Kankara in Katsina State, as they ask federal government to rescue their 333 children who are still missing. Rescue the Boys will be prepared for a round of protests. Coalition of Northern groups warns the federal government, describing the incident at Kankara as barbaric. 18 more generals contract COVID-19 from the botched Chief of Army Staff Conference, which has already claimed the life of one general. Let's continue the talks. British Prime Minister and European Commission President agreed to carry on post-Brexit trade talks. I look at some eyewitness stories now, the ones that you sent in. We'll begin with this video from the Bolade Oshodi area of Lagos State. It's showing a man whom our eyewitness reporter describes as a dispatch rider being harassed by people suspected to be thugs. Our eyewitness alleges that the thugs work with security operatives to extort defaulting motorcyclists. He wonders why they should harass a dispatch rider whom, according to him, are permitted to ply their trade. From Adidero village in Ogun State comes this set of images that's showing people protesting over poor state of the only link road. Our eyewitness also laments that the road is not just in bad shape and has been blocked by a man who claims that the portion of land is his. Our eyewitness is worried that in spite of several complaints submitted to the state government agencies, nothing seems to have changed. He laments how the blockade is affecting school children, farming activities, and other areas of their lives. Thank you for sending in those stories, and please keep them coming. Note that you too can report events as they happen around you. The Secretary to the Government of the Federation and Chairman of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, Mr. Boss Mustafa, has announced that some members of his family have tested positive for COVID-19. The SGF said in a statement a while ago that they are currently asymptomatic. They have been isolated and are receiving care in one of the government treatment centers. He adds that he and his wife tested negative but will remain in self-isolation and work from home according to protocols by the health authorities. He also confirmed that the COVID-19 virus is real and advised everyone to adhere to COVID-19 protocols. Meanwhile, the Lagos State Commissioner for Health, Professor Akin Abayomi, says Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu is responding well to home-based care and treatment for COVID-19. The Commissioner said on his verified Twitter account that the Governor is in high spirits and very appreciative of everyone's prayers and well wishes. Professor Abayomi had promised in an earlier tweet to keep the public informed regularly of the Governor's recovery and well-being. The Commissioner announced on Friday that the Governor tested positive, has been in isolation following contact with persons infected with the virus. To other stories now, the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project has asked the President and the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Mr. Timi Silva, to explain how 116 million naira was spent only on purchase of pens, letterhead and toners in 2015 by the Ministry of Petroleum Resources. The group also wants to know how much was spent on these same items between 2016 and 2020. And if there is evidence of misuse of public funds, the matter should be referred to appropriate anti-corruption agencies for prosecution. In a statement, the organization says an effective and efficient ministry ought to keep careful track of how it spends public money and put in place a system to eliminate corruption, mismanagement, unnecessary, inefficient, or unreasonable expenditures. SERAP says it's concerned that the allegations of the Office of the Auditor General raises serious violations of anti-corruption legislation, the Nigerian Constitution, and international anti-corruption standards. Some stakeholders who daily operate at the Tinkan Island port in Lagos are appealing to the federal government to help crush the syndicates of security officers who extort huge sums of money from them. The stakeholders comprising truck drivers, freight forwarders, and custom licensed agents, among others, allege that sums of money starting from 250,000 naira are paid as bribe money to security officers around the post corridor to fast-track the movement of their goods in and out of the port, a situation which they say further compounds the challenge of the gridlock. Our correspondent, Olu Phillips, has more.
A never-ending tale seemed to be a summary easily reached when Apapa is mentioned. When it is not traffic gridlock, it's the increased cargo tonnage concentration in disparity to other ports, or the turnaround time by the terminal operators, the discordant tones by various freight forwarders union, the transport union to operational oversight by the MPA, to port community members who are always at the receiving end of all the challenges. Whatever the period under consideration is, Apapa has always and is always in the eye of the storm. There are about 15 major stakeholders whose activity daily crisscross as the wheel of the nation's port oscillates, which also suggests the possibility of frictions. Very loud this time are the claims of extortion by government security agencies, which seem to be hiking a lot of operational people, especially the truckers.
We have a situation where the multiplicity of Nigerian Customs Service is not helping issues. Having done with clients in the port, we have over 5 pickups of Nigerian Customs Service that still intercept cargo that has been exited from the port. This, in fact, is the primary cause of congestion in the port. And the spillover effect of it, on a daily basis, we have gridlock on the Apapa Road. And that is what we have.
November 17th, 2018, the federal government flagged off the reconstruction of Apapa Oshodi-Oworo-Shoki-Ojota Expressway at an estimated cost of 73 billion naira with a 2-year completion period. That's not likely now, judging by the level of work to be done at the road sections around the port vicinity. This narrow drive is the only access to and from the Tinkan Island port owing to the ongoing construction, which makes movement extremely Herculean, a situation which may be fueling the claims of extortion.
If you are talking of extortion, it has been institutionalized. And if anyone will tell me, okay, if you know they are collecting money, show us. Where are they collecting the money? They want to see. It means you want me to show you the direction of the breeze. So it is more you look and the less you see.
The system governing the operations and movement of cargoes, both wet and dry, is always greatly distorted when there is a break in the chain of progress or a weak link. Looking behind me, this is a 4-lane express. And all of these guys, either by way of empty containers returning to the port, or export containers going to the port for export, or the trucks going to the tank farms, which are just about 50 meters in front of me, to lift petroleum product. Something is very unique about this spot. Because of the construction, the whole of this place has become a bit of a quagmire. Everyone coming from this way gets back into this lane and heads that way. But the surprising thing is that, and the challenging thing is that, also all the vehicles and trucks and articulated vehicles coming out from the port also use this same lane. So 4-lane express, 2-lane service lane, everybody ends up into 1 lane onto my left of the oncoming vehicles. So those also leaving the port have to also share the 1 lane, and that's a quagmire. That's a situation that may be fueling the extortion.
People are doing road now. They now block road. Carry kata con. They now collect money 50,000 because they open. This one now. They are opening it with 50,000 naira. Another motor you go. And then we are see all this line now. They are not going. And then we are here now 2 weeks, 3 weeks. We are not going. And the people will call you now, 2 days now, they open the barrier and now they will go.
There is money that we first cross in the back before we reach here, about 200 plus.
Who you give?
We give police and the union people.
And what?
Both union, police and the rest, the remaining people.
Sadly, as the practice continues unabated, consumers will be paying higher owing to situations that are completely avoidable. While it may be true that the presidential tax team may have restored law and order on Lagos roads from the days when it got all littered with trucks, it has to also vehemently reject actions capable of reversing the gains made.
We need to start removing human interference in the admittance of the truck, because anything that has human interference, definitely favorism will be there. So many things will set in.
Someone, the federal government, needs to remove the sugar attracting ants at the nation's port and second highest revenue earner. Olu Phillips, Channels Television News.
When the News at 10 returns, hope of stronger trade ties between Imo and Anambra communities is strengthened following reconstruction of Old Bailey Bridge. That's in our community report. Join us again.
Confidence is important in life's little moments.
Welcome back. The hopes of communication, trade and relationship has been rekindled between two border communities of Amaruru in Orsu local government area of Imo State and Ezinifite in Nnewi South local government area of Anambra State following the reconstruction of the dilapidated and age-long Urase River Bridge by the federal government through the Federal Road Maintenance Agency, FERMA. According to the indigents of the area, the reconstruction of the old colonial Bailey Bridge will no doubt increase economic activities in the area and encourage farmers to transport their goods easily to consumers. Our community report tonight spotlights the importance of this business relationship fostered by the reconstruction.
This is what the Urase River Bridge, linking two border communities of Amaruru in Orsu local government area of Imo State and Ezinifite in Nnewi South local government area of Anambra State, used to look like. According to the villagers, the bridge was constructed during the colonial era and served as the shortest and major access road linking Imo and Anambra State. The bridge served the communities over the years, deteriorating with time. Things took a turn for the worse sometime in 2018 when a lorry loaded with cement got stuck on the bridge, causing a total collapse.
This road has been terrible. At a stage, it became unusable. Pedestrians don't cross, not talk to about motorcyclists or whatever. Until in 2018, it collapsed completely.
The cry of the people, however, got the attention of the authorities, and in 2019, the federal government, through the Federal Road Maintenance Agency, FEMA, began the reconstruction of the bridge, and today, a newly constructed concrete bridge is being delivered to the people.
I commissioned this bridge for the use of man and for the good of our people, in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
The Deputy Governor of Imo State, Placid Njoku, commends the federal government for the feat, which he says is of great economic importance to the people of the area.
It's a thing of joy that today, in this rural community, that even the federal government has come here to show that there is a government in Nigeria.
FEMA's executive director in charge of the Southeast enjoins the indigents of both communities to protect the project jealously and maintain it as it remains a legacy project for the people.
I want to assure you that we will continue to give every community that supports community development, we will continue to give our support to improve your lots. Not only the federal roads, but roads that will have direct bearing on the life of the people of this country.
There is no doubt that with the reconstruction of the Urase River Bridge, movement of persons and goods between the neighboring communities will no longer be hindered. Beyond that, however, is the need for the government to put in place a good maintenance plan with the full support of the people. That's one sure way of ensuring that the bridge serves the communities for a long period of time. Eyitope Kuteyi, Channels Television News.
Another award has been added to the many honors that the chairman of Channels Media Group, Mr. John Momoh, has garnered. This time it is the Lifetime Achievement Award at the 29th edition of the Diamond Award for Media Excellence in Lagos. The award was received on his behalf by the Assistant General Manager Operations, Mr. Kingsley Hiranta.
Rewarding hard work and diligence in the media space is what has brought practitioners and veterans of the industry to the 29th edition of the Diamond Awards for Media Excellence. A rendition of the national anthem sets the tone for the evening. Then a word from the organizers of the awards.
It is critical to continue to stress the vital role that trained journalists play in serving their publics with news that you can trust. It is essential to separate the wheat from the chaff by honoring our committed and enterprising media professionals. We believe that by so doing, we are renewing faith in our society. We suggest to the government that it will do well to see the media as partners in progress and shun the practice of fishing for enemies where they do not exist. Propaganda is no replacement for governance, which the people are truly hungry for.
Now to the business of the day, as 13 media organizations share honors across categories which include editorial writing, best designed newspaper, and child-friendly reporting. The Nation newspaper takes 2 of the awards for the night.
I believe that people worked a lot. I'm the editor, I'm the coordinator. We just spin ideas, the reporters go to the field to deliver. And they really worked hard. And we did our own coordination. And then this is the reward for what we have done. We thank God for everything.
And now the big one, the Lifetime Achievement Award. The recipient this year is none other than the chairman and CEO of Channels Television, who's represented by the station's Assistant General Manager Operations.
This is no doubt an incredible moment of my life. How thrilled I am to be receiving this award tonight. From the look of things, the Nobel Peace Prize may not be far away. I am extremely grateful and honored by this thoughtful recognition, and I thank all members of the DAME trustees, particularly the panel of judges, for selecting me for this singular and very much appreciated award.
The organizers explain how they arrived at a winner for the prestigious category.
We look at your professional track record. You must have given minimum of 30-35 years unbroken service to the industry. You must also be known not to have soiled your hand in the practice. In this year, the focus was on broadcast, and we think he towers above every other person around today.
The Dame's first outing was back in 1992, and the idea was to enhance professionalism and challenge journalists to always strive for excellence in the discharge of their duties.
A big congratulations, Mr. Momoh. Now, Nigerian politician and serial entrepreneur Dr. Oladipupo Adebutu has held a symposium on public-private partnership in Ogun State as part of his installation rights as the Lisa Ajay of Egbaland. The title was conferred on him by the Alake of Egbaland, His Royal Majesty Aremu Bademo, and he organized the seminar to share his vision for the development of Ogun State. A symposium on public-private partnership for the development of Ogun State.
Stand up for recognition. Thank you.
It is held in honor of Dr. Oladipupo Adebutu, who is now the Lisa Ajay of Egbaland, a title conferred on him by the Alake and paramount ruler of Egbaland.
When you are Lisa Ajay, you are Lisa of all commercial activities, the Lisa of creation of wealth, the Lisa of employment opportunities in Ogun State.
As part of his installation rights, Dr. Adebutu hosts this seminar to discuss issues he believes are germane to the development of the state. For a man passionate about good governance and committed to investing in the local economy, he shares part of his vision for the state.
4 train stations will come through Ogun State. One of those train stations is going to stop just outside this town. And I want to make that my own personal project as Lisa Ajay. I am going to ask the private sector. We are going to find money and we are going to develop that land.
With royal fathers, erudite scholars, captains of industry, and other prominent Nigerians in attendance, speakers at the symposium explained what needs to be done to make public-private partnership work.
We must have continuity. We must have the rule of law. We must have all of those kinds of things. Respect for contracts. Those are fundamental to public-private partnership. The budget of Ogun State cannot fund the quality of life that people of Ogun State require. It is left for creative entrepreneurs with governments that are committed to the rule of law, driven by the people's needs more than the personal interest of the politicians, to collaborate.
With Dr. Adebutu now spearheading wealth creation in Ogun State, the industrialist is promising to further contribute to the economic and human capacity development of the state. Nigeria is strategic to the digital market of Africa. That's according to the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Dr. Issa Pantami. He told participants at the Africa Investment Forum, a side event at the Gulf Information Technology Exhibition in Dubai, the United Arab Emirates, that investing in Africa provides a golden opportunity for investors to reach the rest of Africa.
The land is green and Africa is making its presence felt at the 40th edition of the Gulf Information Technology Exhibition. Africa is the only continent to host an investment forum at the event. Nigeria is driving the campaign for increased investment in the digital economy of the continent.
Geographically, you will discover that Nigeria is somehow at the center of Africa. There is proximity to the remaining part of West African countries, East Africa, North Africa, and South Africa. That Nigeria is somehow at the center of Africa. So strategically and geographically, Nigeria is somehow at the center of Africa, and it allows you to have access to the remaining African countries.
According to a report by the International Financial Corporation and Google Incorporated, Africa's internet economy is projected to be worth $180 billion by 2030. Tantalum and cobalt, 2 natural resources used in manufacturing ICT components, are largely deposited in Africa. Governments on the continent are also ready for the investors.
3 trends are shaping and creating the future of African economy. Firstly, the increased affordability and fast internet speed across the continent. Secondly, our startups, our digital startups are transforming the business landscape and the economic in general. And thirdly, the commitment to create the world's largest single free trade area.
The Honorable Minister drew up a target by 2025, everybody should have access to the internet. That's what I mean by the all-inclusive, digital economy. You talk of financial services that, will be provided maybe via some stations, these post offices, the assets in post offices, but you do need broadband to drive this sector. Every blind spot and unserved communities will be covered before 2025 via the satellite.
The consensus here is that the ICT sector in Africa represents one of the biggest opportunities to harness the skill sets of the young African demographic. The prospects discussed here are expected to impact information technology services and operations in Africa.
Beyond our shores now, Germany goes into a new COVID-19 lockdown on December 16 that will last into the new year. During this time, only essential shops such as supermarkets and pharmacies, as well as banks, are to remain open. Hair salons, beauty salons and tattoo parlors will also have to shut. There's more in the Global Update. Announcement of the new lockdown was made by German Chancellor Angela Merkel on Sunday. It includes schools being closed in principle and employers asked to close operations or have employees work from home. The sale of fireworks will also be banned ahead of New Year's Eve. The country has been in partial lockdown for 6 weeks, with bars and restaurants closed, while stores and schools have remained open. Over in the USA, workers at a Pfizer Incorporated factory in Michigan dispatched the first shipments of its COVID-19 vaccine on Sunday, launching the largest and most complex vaccine distribution project ever in the country. This comes as the U.S. recorded 1 million new coronavirus cases in the past 4 days, marking the highest case growth speed since the outbreak of the disease. Italian researchers say they have found more evidence which shows COVID-19 was circulating in Italy as early as November 2019, 3 months earlier than the country's first official clinical case. In their studies, a 4-year-old boy was diagnosed retrospectively, which is one of the country's earliest cases. Doctors then had suspected he was suffering from measles, but the result was negative. South Korea's President Moon Jae-in has warned that COVID-19 restrictions may be raised to the highest level after a second day of record increases in cases as the country battles a harsh third wave of infection. Presiding over an emergency meeting at the Central Disease and Safety Countermeasures headquarters for the first time since February, President Moon Jae-in said not containing the outbreak now could lead the country into a critical point of considering escalating social distancing measures to the third level. Finally, Peru has suspended trials for China's Sinopharm COVID-19 vaccine due to a serious adverse event that occurred with one of the volunteers for the study. German Malaga, the chief researcher at the local Cayetano Heredia University, which is involved in the study, said one volunteer had experienced decreased strength in his legs, among other symptoms. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson says his country and the European Union have agreed to continue post-Brexit trade talks, as it is responsible at this point to go the extra mile. Both sides had earlier made today the deadline for a decision on whether to continue, with talks with the UK set to leave EU rules at the end of the month. The UK and EU have been carrying out negotiations for a post-Brexit trade deal since March and are attempting to secure one before the so-called transition period, ending December 31st.
Well, I've just talked to Ursula von der Leyen and updated the Cabinet about the contents of the call. And the idea was that when we went out on Wednesday, the hope was that we were going to be able to finish things off on today if there was a deal to be done. As things stand, and this was basically what Ursula and I agreed, I'm afraid we're still very far apart on some key things, but where there's life, there's hope. We're going to keep talking to see what we can do.
Following the return of sporting activities in the country, some sports federations have recorded admirable progress in hosting events despite COVID-19 concerns. However, this is not the case for the 20th National Sports Festival, which has been postponed twice this year. This report takes a look at the possibilities of hosting sporting activities in the pandemic.
It's been 5 months since Nigeria's sporting federations were given approval to restart activities.
And here we go. See how it down. Talking about 400.
Though not yet at its peak, some major sporting events have made remarkable return. The Handball League, the Volleyball Super Cup, Athletics Championships, Table Tennis, and the Women's Football League have all bounced back under strict protocols.
We never expected this. Even in this period of COVID-19, we never expected that we will achieve such a great magnitude of success. And I think this is a big achievement. I'm really pleased.
Despite this successful return, the National Sports Festival, a major event in the country, has suffered huge setback as there appears to be no compromise between host Edo State and the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19.
Over the past weeks, discussions have been held about the safety issues pertaining to the National Sports Festival, scheduled to hold in Benin, Edo State. New dates have been agreed upon early in 2021, before which measures will be put in place to minimize infections.
We are seeing the pandemic. What has changed between December 3rd and January 3rd? Council of Sport met and said December 3rd. Presidential Task Force is saying January 3rd. What has changed? Is coronavirus now extinguished from Nigeria? These are the questions to ask.
Sports enthusiasts, however, believe hosting successful events in the pandemic is achievable.
The most important is the fact that every body keeps to the guidelines that have been laid down. It is very important because it will not be to anybody's joy to hold a tournament and then you find a problem or having to look for people around or try to find out if the cause for people getting COVID is from that tournament.
Practicing social distancing, wearing your masks, constantly sanitizing your hands.
With the multi-sport event now rescheduled for next year, many are hopeful that all parties will reach an agreement as the athletes are already looking forward to competing.
Anthony Joshua has retained his WBA Super, WBO and IBF titles with a brutal knockout of his Bulgarian challenger Kubrat Pulev. AJ floored Pulev heavily on 3 occasions, twice in the final round, and ended the fight with a vicious right hand in round 9 in front of 1,000 fans at the Wembley Arena. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has congratulated Joshua on his win. The president says by retaining his titles, AJ has given boxing lovers around the world, and particularly in Nigeria, something to cheer. The president wishes Joshua all the best in his dream fight against Tyson Fury, saying he has the prayers and goodwill of all Nigerians. Liverpool have missed out on the chance to go top of the English Premier League and were fortunate to come away with a draw against Fulham at Craven Cottage. Mohamed Salah earned them their point, firing a low penalty under home goalkeeper Alphonse Areola after Abubakar Kamara leapt in the wall and blocked a Jorginho Wijnaldum free kick with his arm. Bobby de Cordova-Reid had given Fulham the lead in his first half. Jeffrey Schlupp scored a late Crystal Palace equaliser after a mistake by Hugo Lloris to deny Tottenham victory at Selhurst Park. Southampton have moved into the English Premier League's top 4 by sweeping aside bottom club Sheffield United 3-0. Red Bull's Max Verstappen has won the season-ending Abu Dhabi Grand Prix with a faultless ball-to-flag performance at the Yas Marina earlier today. Valtteri Bottas was second, and his Mercedes teammates, the world champion Lewis Hamilton, finished third ahead of Alex Albon, who came fourth in the other Red Bull. Verstappen was comfortable throughout, even after an early safety car, and took the checkered flag by 14 seconds, giving himself and Red Bull a welcome boost ahead of a hoped championship fight against Mercedes next year.
Max, that was absolutely clinical. Start to finish, fastest lap as well. You've been...
And the main news again. Parents of kidnapped students of Government Science Secondary School, Kankara in Katsina State today staged a peaceful protest for government to rescue their 333 students that are still missing. The Nigerian Army confirms that at least 26 persons have so far tested positive for COVID-19 from the Chief of Army Staff Conference. And that's it on the news at 10 tonight. Thanks for watching. I'm Amarachi Ugbadi. Good night.